Hey everybody, it's Felisa, and I wanted to do my car chronicle, my car vlog, because I am very nicely stuck in traffic. And even though it's a slow crawl to where I have to be, like, I actually have to be at physical therapy in about 7 minutes, and it does not look like that is going to happen for me. But I figured that I would, upload this vlog because I was kind of thinking about it, and you guys know that I'm super transparent, and I like to try and put experiences out there that are meaningful, but honest to goodness, that can help people, that can help them navigate through, certain emotions or certain experiences, because sometimes we just really feel like we're all by ourselves and nobody quite understands what it is that we're going through. And the reality is that, while people don't experience necessarily the same situation that you experience, and even if they do, they don't necessarily have the same response or the same reaction to it as you do. We all go through something, and it would be really nice if people stop acting as though they are unaffected, or that stuff that they go through, they just weather through it, and they emerge stronger and more resilient, and all those kinds of things. And that could be true, but the fact of the matter still is that while you're going through it, you don't feel particularly strong or resilient, or any of those things. You feel like you just want to set something on fire. So let's just be real about it. Anyway, so I recently had a relationship end, and during the ending of that relationship, I discovered some things about myself that I'm not necessarily proud of, but that I'm glad was exposed so that I could begin a different level of healing. I told y'all last time when I had a breakup that that just going radio silence at whatever point just drives me nuts. Like, I think that's so incredibly rude and disrespectful when you have somebody that's reaching out to you and you just ignore them. Like, I feel like that, I just feel like that's cowardly, and I just feel like that's rude, and I don't think that my perspective will ever change on that. But I do find it necessary to say that there's probably a lesson in that, in terms of changing my response to it, because I have a tendency to continue to reach out and want to talk. That's my way of gaining closure. That's my way of maintaining civility, because I don't think that you have to act a complete ass when you are ending a relationship. I do think that there are people out in the world who are able to say, hey, this is not working for me. I don't mean to hurt you. I don't mean to whatever, but I need to move on, or whatever. I mean, you come up with your own scenario, but I feel like there are people out in the world who are able to do that, and they're able to do that in a way that, while it doesn't necessarily minimize the hurt in terms of ending the relationship, it minimizes the disrespect, and it minimizes the trauma that someone would inflict by just throwing up their hands and acting like you don't matter. And I think that that's really, as I talk through it, that's really at the crux of it, that people would really act like you don't matter, and they just whatever. So I recognized, because I think I went a week or so reaching out to this person, hey, we need to talk, and and I will go off. Will say that I'm not proud of it, but I will go. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is so reprehensible. I cannot believe that you're actually doing this. So anyway, I want to talk less about that, about him, and more about me and my response. And so what I've learned through this whole process, and what I can share with you is, of course, some breakups, not all, sometimes people are like, whew, yeah, I'm glad they went away. But breakups suck. Ending a relationship sucks. You don't put time into a relationship, depending on how long you guys have been together, but you don't put time and effort into a relationship to believe that it's not going to go the distance. Like, I really do think that most people have, and even in the back of their minds, thoughts of hope and expectation that eventually you'll get to the finish line, whatever your particular finish line is. And I hope that you guys are having some conversation about where you ultimately want the puck to land at the end of the game. So I think that when one person, or maybe even both people, discover that, yeah, this is no longer serving me, this is no longer in my best interest, and I need to cut this loose, there are ways that you can do that allows that other person to maintain their dignity and their self-respect. I mean, you don't want to take that away from somebody. And so for me, I recognize that I still have some very old triggers that are probably residual from not only my marriage, but, you know, this previous relationship, that have not been resolved. And what happens is that if you don't resolve triggers, if you don't resolve, you know, certain issues and certain trauma, and if you don't unpack certain baggage in your life, all it takes is for another familiar situation, another familiar circumstance, another familiar kind of experience to cause that to resurface. So triggers don't really go anywhere. They just go dormant, and they just wait for something that would cause them to fire. And so knowing that on this side, you know, I think I would have exercised a little bit more caution and a little bit more grace, understanding what those triggers are. I'm also someone who is big on my intuition. Like if I get a gut check, if I feel really strongly in my gut, like I really felt like this guy was pulling away emotionally, and I felt like I was chasing him. And here's the thing, if somebody is chasing, then somebody is running. Like that's how that works. That's how chasing works. And, you know, I don't think that a lot of times people realize that divestment emotionally, like I felt that, and it made me extremely uncomfortable, you know, to the extent that, you know, I was trying to anticipate what it is that he might do. And of course he wasn't really giving any clues, and perhaps I should have been the one to end it, you know, but I didn't really have a reason to end it, if that makes sense. Like you don't just end a relationship because you suspect something, or you suspect that somebody is no longer interested. I mean, he just wasn't that into me, and it was very apparent to me. It was very obvious to me, and I told him that, because I'm nothing if not forthcoming and very direct. So, you know, the more that I feel like he was pulling away, the more unanchored I became, because you have to have that connectivity and you have to have that attachment. So, you know, what I was saying in terms of that, ladies, if you're feeling that way, or even guys, if you're feeling that way, and you have the conversation with them and there's been no correctiveness, you really need to consider cutting your losses, because what's going to happen is that you're just going to become bitter and angry and upset and malcontent, and all of those things will play out in your relationship eventually anyway, and all of those things damage your relationship anyway. Aside from that, you know, y'all know that I think that ghosting and the silent treatment and all that kind of stuff is just a coward. I really do. Like, I really feel like that's a coward. Sometimes you just have to have the hard conversation, and you don't do what's easier for you. You do what's best for the relationship and what's best for, you know, the other person. You leave them in a better state in which you found them. I mean, that's really the object of relationships. If you burn somebody to the point where you have now caused them to be slightly less than who they were before you met them or before you start dealing with them, then you are a despicable human being. You should at least make some rich deposits in people, make some investments in people that can be long-standing, and they remember you for that. You don't want, why would you want to be known for, you know, the guy that doesn't know how to talk, or the guy that ends relationships by just never picking up the phone and calling? Like, maybe y'all don't care. Or, you know, why do you want to be the girl that is known as a cheater, or the girl that, you know, is just known for setting stuff on fire? Like, amazingly, these people have no difficulty finding relationships, but that's because people don't know ahead of time. But anyway, the point that I'm making is, you know, there's a way that you can end relationships to leave people's humanity intact, as I said before, and leave them in a better state than what you found them, and, you know, at least help them manage through the process if you're the one that's going to be ending the relationship. And yes, I hear people saying now, well, Felisa, not everybody is civil, not everybody is mature, you know, not everybody is whatever. Yeah, well, that is probably true, but the problem is that you don't get to avoid hard conversations because of someone else's response. You can't control somebody else's response. You cannot control someone else's reaction to whatever it is that you're doing, or whatever it is that you're getting ready to tell them. They may not take it well, and that's just something that you're gonna have to Like, you just gonna have to take that L. Like, for real, you're gonna have to take that L. You're gonna have to take that, swallow that, and say, I need to have this hard conversation. And if you can't do it face to face, you can do it on the phone. I don't suggest a text message. But, you know, I would just suggest giving that closure and letting that human being walk away with some modicum of their dignity. Now, how they perform and how they respond to it after you've said what you have to say, again, you don't control that, and you don't get to dictate that to another person. You just have to be prepared either way, and hopefully you know who you're dealing with in the context of these relationships to kind of anticipate that. So if you know that she is a thrower of things, then you probably want to put your stuff up. If you know that he is, you know, somebody that is going to be unhinged or whatever, and you think that, you know, he's just going to start yelling or whatever, take his behind out in public so he can start yelling and somebody call the authorities or at the very least make his dumb self go viral by taking a video. Now, my caveat to that is, if you think that this person is going to respond in such a way that it puts you in danger, puts them in danger, puts anybody around you in danger, then yeah, I could see where you would just be gone, because you don't need them kind of problems. You don't need those kind of concerns in your life. I can't tell you that I blame you, because I probably would do the same thing. You're not about to catch me up in no foolishness and do something to my face or to my car if you can't control yourself. But, you know, I think that for the most part, you deal with a little bit of mouth, you deal with a little bit of attitude, and understand that those are hurt feelings. Those are hurt feelings. That's anger, that's disappointment, that's rejection speaking. So if you know that ahead of time, it's possible that you could give that person a little bit of grace when they behave that way, you know. And it's nice to say that people should be mature and they should be, you know, whatever. But the reality is that when you hurt somebody's feelings, particularly someone who loves you and cares about you, then, you know, again, you can't control their reaction or their responses, and sometimes people will speak out of anger and hurt and frustration, and that's what you feel. Anyway, just thought I'd come and give those little tidbits. And don't be afraid to heal yourself. Acknowledge that you have these shortcomings and these frailties. I certainly did, and I very quickly took my behind back to therapy. No shame in my game, because you have to walk through these issues. It's not about this relationship and getting over this relationship. It's about healing myself from the hurt and the trauma, and alleviating myself of the responsibility and the obligation of continuing to carry that baggage and that pain and that shame and beating myself up about it. So, you know, yes, I need to talk through this. I need to work through this. I need to get my life in order, because I want to be the best person that I could possibly be. Some of y'all need to make an appointment today. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, I'm Felisa, and I hope that this video has been helpful for you. If it has, leave a comment below. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button so that you know when I upload, and I will talk to y'all later on. Bye.